so when you think about our planet's greatest treasure, what comes to mind? Gold? Diamonds? Nope. It's something so much more valuable. Today, we're diving into the incredible biological wealth all around us. Welcome to our explainer on biodiversity and conservation. Okay, let's start with a little thought experiment. Imagine an alien visitor, just arriving at Earth for the very first time. What do you think would truly blow their mind? I'll tell you what it wouldn't be. Our skyscrapers, our tech, no way. It would be the sheer, staggering, overwhelming variety of life. I mean, it's a planetary spectacle that, honestly, even for us, never ever gets old. To really get a feel for the scale we're talking about, let's just throw out some numbers, okay? Let's start small. Think about ants. How many different kinds do you figure there are? Well, there are 20,000. 20,000 different species of ants. All right, 20,000 ants. That's a lot. But beetles, get ready for this. We're talking 300,000 different species. 300,000! I mean, the sheer variety is just, it's mind-boggling. Okay, let's dive underwater. Fish. We've identified 28,000 species, and every single one of them is perfectly adapted to its own little corner of the world's oceans, rivers, and lakes. And, this isn't just an animal thing. Not at all. The plant kingdom? Just as wild. Take orchids, for example. There are nearly 20,000 species of just orchids. Every single number we've just rattled off, it tells a story of millions of years of evolution. So we've seen all this incredible variety, which, it begs the question, what do we actually call all this? What does it all mean? Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle first. The word you're looking for is biodiversity. It's a term that was really brought into the mainstream by the sociobiologist Edward Wilson. And it's this really beautiful, simple word for a super complex idea. It's the total variety of life, and not just the different species, but diversity at every single level of biological organization. And here's what's really crucial to get. Biodiversity isn't just one thing. It actually operates on 3 different levels. So first up, you've got genetic diversity. This is the variety within a single species. A great example? India has over 50,000 genetically different strains of rice. Crazy, right? Then you have species diversity. That's the one we usually think of, the variety of different species in an area. And finally, there's ecological diversity. This is the big picture stuff, the variety of entire ecosystems, from deserts to rainforests to stunning coral reefs. Okay, so we've defined it, but could we actually count it all? How many species are we really talking about, total? Let's take a look. So far, we've officially cataloged or, named about 1.5 million species. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The most respected scientific estimate from a guy named Robert May puts the total number of species on Earth closer to 7 million. Just think about that. That means millions of species are still out there, completely unknown to us, just waiting to be discovered. But okay, how does that 7 million break down, across the whole tree of life? This gives us a really cool glimpse into the major groups. You can see the slices for invertebrates, vertebrates, and plants. But I want you to look really closely at the animal kingdom, because one group just completely dominates everything else. It's honestly hard to wrap your head around. A staggering 70%, 70, of all known animal species are insects. Let me put it another way. For every 10 animals on this planet, 7 of them are insects. It really makes you think, maybe it's their planet and we're just living on it. But this incredible, beautiful library of life, which remember took millions and millions of years to build, it's now facing a threat like never before. And this brings us to a much, much more serious topic, what some are calling the silent extinction. And it's a fair question, one that a lot of people ask. I mean, with millions of species out there, does it really matter if we lose a few, right? If one type of tree frog vanishes, or if we go from 20,000 species of ants down to 15,000, does that actually change anything for us? Well, to answer that, a Stanford ecologist named Paul Ehrlich came up with this really powerful analogy. It's called the rivet popper hypothesis. And he wants you to imagine an ecosystem as an airplane, right? An airplane held together by thousands and thousands of tiny rivets. And in this analogy, every single one of those rivets is a species. Okay, so you're on this plane. Now, what if every passenger decides to just pop out one rivet to take home as a souvenir? The plane might not crash at first, But as more and more rivets disappear, that plane gets weaker and weaker. And this is the crucial part. What happens if you start popping rivets out of the wing? Those are the key species. Suddenly, the threat to the whole system becomes critical. The point is, every single rivet matters. The hard reality is we are popping those rivets, and at an absolutely alarming rate. Scientists are now confirming that we're in the middle of the Earth's 6th mass extinction. But here's the difference. The first 5 were caused by things like asteroid impacts and massive volcanic eruptions. This one, it's being driven almost entirely by us. And it's all about the speed. The current rate of extinction is estimated to be somewhere between 100 to 1,000 times faster than it was in pre-human times. 1,000 times faster. This isn't some slow, gradual change. This is a full-blown biological crisis, and it's happening right now. So, what's causing all this? Well, ecologists have pinpointed 4 main drivers, which they sometimes call the evil quartet. Number 1, the biggest one, is habitat loss and fragmentation. Clearing a forest to make way for farmland. Number 2 is over-exploitation, basically using up resources way faster than they can bounce back. Third, you have invasive alien species that come in and just outcompete the native life. And finally, there's co-extinctions. This is like a domino effect. When one species goes extinct, another one that depends on it goes extinct too. Okay, so understanding the problem, that's step 1. But the next and maybe most important step is figuring out what on earth we can do about it. And that brings us to our final section, the race to protect. So why should we even bother? Why conserve biodiversity? Well, there are basically 3 main arguments. The first is what you might call the narrowly utilitarian one. This is all about the direct economic benefits we get. Food, medicine, fuel, stuff like that. Then there's the broadly utilitarian argument, which is more big picture. It focuses on all the services ecosystems provide for free, like pollination from bees or the oxygen we breathe. And finally, there's the simple ethical argument that every species has intrinsic value and a right to exist, period. Just like us. When it comes to how we actually do conservation, the strategies really fall into 2 big buckets. First, you have in situ or on-site conservation. This is the ideal, right? You protect an entire ecosystem, like a national park or a sanctuary, and by doing that, you save all the species living inside it. The other approach is ex situ or off-site. This is more of a last resort for species that are right on the brink. We're talking about taking threatened animals and plants and placing them in special protected settings, like zoos, botanical gardens, or seed banks, to keep them from disappearing forever. Ultimately, the challenge we're facing is just immense because we're losing species faster than we can even find and name them. It really leaves us with this powerful, sobering thought. Nature's biological library is burning, even before we've cataloged the titles of all the books stocked there. So the question that leaves for all of us is, what are we going to save from the flames?